I'm just going to talk a little bit about pattern ease and body measurements in preparation for making our t-shirt. So I have my mannequin here, okay, and you can see that she's wearing a sweater. You can see that the sweater is not really fitted, so if I pinched in on the sides to where the waist is here, you can see there's a lot of extra fabric on the sides, okay? And that's a pattern design choice, obviously. And one way that you can tell that is that there are other parts of the garment that are well fitted. So up here at the neckline, you can see that it's nice and smooth to the neck, and it's not like overly large or bulky. So we know that this isn't just like a XXX sweater on a smaller form. It's a design choice that the pattern designer made for this sweater to look this way. So something in pattern making that we always add so that you don't have to do it for yourself is called ease. So when you make a garment, you don't make it like exactly your size, because then you couldn't move. We have limbs and we have waists and we have all sorts of things that move on our bodies that we need some space for. So you have to have some amount of ease in whatever garment you design. Now, depending on what you want that garment to look like and how you want it to fit, it may or may not have a whole lot of ease, or it may have a very small amount of ease. So this sweater is an example of something having quite a lot of ease. So they've added, multiple inches of space, and they've kind of made this a larger fit at the bottom so that it hangs out wider from the body. If you have a woven fabric, so a fabric that does not stretch, as a rule, you would need to have a little bit more ease in that garment than something that does stretch, like a knit. Okay, so I'm going to take this off for just a moment and show you underneath. We have a tank top here that is a layering piece, so it's meant to sit underneath clothing. And what that means is that you want it to sit very close to the body. So dance wear, under clothing, like t-shirts that you wear underneath other things, tank tops, women's swimsuits, things like that, you want, and they manufacture with negative ease. So instead of having excess fabric, there's actually a little bit less. So if I hold this up, if I hold my size up in front of my body, it looks smaller than me because I want it to stretch just a little bit to sit nice and flat on the body. Now, if you go too small, like if I put on an XXS, right, it's going to have a little bit, it's going to have negative ease, but there's too much negative ease, and I'm going to have like weird pulling lines because of how tight it's stretched. So there is a kind of a science to how much ease they put in a garment to make sure, like for example, this one, that it lays smooth and flat, but doesn't like constrict at a certain size. So when you're choosing a size for a pattern, the ease that the manufacturer or that the designer wanted is already included in the pattern. So you don't have to account for that. If you're a size large and the measurement chart says that a large is a 32 waist, then that means that you can make a size large, okay, and it will already have some wearing ease built in, so like some space for movement, okay. That means that you're not picking the size based off of the finished garment sizes. You're choosing it off of the chart that they give you for your body measurements. But those two charts next to each other can kind of show you how much ease a pattern has built in. So for this pattern, they might say a size large is a waist size of 32. However, the finished garment size at the waist is 30 inches. So that means that they've built in negative ease of 2 inches, okay? With this sweater, which I'll put back on, maybe this body measurement chart says a large is a 32 waist. However, it will say something like the finished garment waist size is 46. You know, there are a lot of extra inches here because of how it's meant to look. So when you're choosing your t-shirt size, you go off the body measurements chart, but the finished garment size chart will also tell you how big that might end up. So when I'm making clothing for myself, I will use both charts and I'll measure my hip or my waist, and if my waist is 34 and the t-shirt ease is 36, I'll kind of take my flexible measuring tape and kind of think, is 2 inches enough for me and how I want this to fit? And if it is, that's great. If not, I might size up, or I might just make it wider, make my own alterations. It kind of depends on the fit. So for you and your t-shirt size, you're going to use your basic body measurements. So there aren't a ton for a t-shirt because it's not a super fitted garment that needs to be like ultra specific. So you have a chest measurement, you have a waist measurement, and then you have a hip measurement that you're going to use to choose your t-shirt size. Now, it's pretty rare for anybody to fit into all one category. So usually, like, your hip might be a medium, and your waist might be a small, and your chest might be a medium as well. If that's the case, which is common, you're going to choose the largest size that you fit into. So for example, my waist fits a large. My hip fits an extra large. I'm going to make an extra large, or cut out an extra large t-shirt so that it's going to be large enough in my largest area. And then if I need to, I can make slight adjustments to make it smaller in the waist a little bit. If I cut out a large, and my hip is an extra large, then I'm not going to have quite as much space as I want in my hip because I've done the smaller size. So when you're looking at the body measurement chart and comparing it to your body measurements, choose the largest size that you fit into, okay? And then you can do your t-shirt from there. We're not going to do a lot of alterations, but if you want to lengthen a sleeve or bring in the waist a little bit because it's too big, or your armhole ends up a little too large, we can always adjust on those things a little bit as we go. So that's just a little bit about ease, which is the built-in wearing space basically, and part design. So it's part function, part design. We need space to move in our clothing, but also a designer might choose to add extra ease somewhere depending on how they want the garment to look. And you use your body measurements to choose the size that you want based on that company's body measurement chart. And then you go with your largest size that you fit into and make adjustments from there for a well-fitting t-shirt or whatever else you happen to be making.